Hey, welcome back. I was trying to run another NFL video today. Those intros are just getting faster and faster. Today we're doing the NFL final preseason power rankings. I know. A few months ago, I did another power rankings video called NFL Final Preseason Power Rankings. But over the last couple of months, a lot of stuff has happened, and I feel like I should probably update it. I mean, Cam Newton wasn't even on the Patriots when I made that, so a lot of stuff really has changed. And now that we are only, I think it's like 13, 15 days away from the actual season starting, I feel like today we should make it up to date. And the next power rankings video I will be doing is the week 1 power rankings video, which I guess technically might be before games actually start, but it'll be, I don't know. We'll see. This is the final preseason power rankings. Let's get into it. So, starting off, we have, you can already, this is going to be the one bad thing about it. You can tell what team is going to be. If you're a Giants fan, you already knew that your team was going to be in the bottom 8. Part of the reason why I picked Saquon Barkley is because, Giants fans aren't going to be surprised by this. For all you know, you could be surprised or something else. So we've got the bottom 8 are red, because they're just kind of like the bottom of the barrel, really struggling. Most of them are probably in a rebuilding phase or are going to, in my opinion, drop into one, or maybe they're about to come out of one. They're kind of just, maybe it stops like 26, but these are really just pretty bad teams. 32, we have the Jets. I'm sorry, but I think they might be, I do think they are the worst team in football, in my opinion. And if you look at this, I have done 2 different power rankings before. So in my last power rankings video, they were only 29th. So they dropped down 3. We're also going to include that. So you can see how they've been moving. It's because they lost Jamal Adams. And that was really what was holding them up to 29th, was the fact that while their offense really is nothing, they don't have an offense. Sam Darnold is crap. I clicked. I'm so sorry, but now you see they got the Bears. I'm gonna keep on talking about the Jets, but now you know the Bears are above them. I'm gonna lose so many subs over this. But the Jets, Le'Veon Bell, he's way past his prime. They don't have an offense, and that defense was so much lenient on Jamal Adams, and he was a good enough player to hold them up to 29th. But then they lost him. They replaced him with McDougald, I guess, but that's still not good enough, and I just think they collapse on themselves. Probably, I guess they're not technically in a rebuild yet, but I have a feeling it's going to happen soon. And then 31st, we got the Bears, and this is, I feel they're in 30th. I feel kind of bad for them because, Mitch Trubisky, he had one bad year, but he just looks so absolutely terrible. I don't see him coming back from that, but if he does and he proves all the haters, including me, I will say it right now, I am a Mitch Trubisky hater. I think he's one of the worst quarterbacks in football right now. Obviously, he's in 31st. They've got David Montgomery, so that running game isn't a complete tragedy, which is kind of the same thing with the Jets. And that defense is definitely the better part. That's what's keeping them above the Jets right now, is the fact that they do have, Khalil Mack on there, who can, he's a very good defensive lineman or defensive linebacker, whatever the heck he is. I just know he's in the front 7. They do have they have a pretty bad defense. They have a pretty bad all-around team. If Nick Foles can somehow swoop in and save them, if Mitch Trubisky proves all the haters wrong and somehow plays really well, they can definitely become, I don't see them becoming very good, though. I don't see how that could happen. Maybe they could go up to the next. Okay, I'm gonna give them this. They could end up being from 24 to 17. They could end up being in that range. I don't see them being in the top half of the teams. Maybe in the next couple of years if they add some more weapons on that offense. But right now, I don't see it happening. And now in 30th, we have the Jaguars, who actually fall down all the way from 15th. Now, there's going to be a lot of big number of changes in here. And that's because a few months ago, I did this whole thing where I went through and I ranked every team based on wide receivers, and I based every team's wide receiver core, every team's running back core, every team's quarterback. Of course, by now, all those are pretty much out of date. The Patriots were way on the bottom of the quarterback rankings because they had Jarrett Stidham as their quarterback, and now they'd be pretty high. And and I took all those rankings, I averaged them out, find every team's average, and then I ranked them based on that. That's another reason why I'm doing this, because I don't know if that was such a good idea. But I am still gonna act like it's a real thing. So they were 15th, but I don't believe in Gardner Minshew. These three teams I think might have the worst quarterback situations. And Gardner Minshew doesn't really have. I mean, Leonard Fournette, I guess, he's a pretty good running back. They do have solid defense. Their defense is definitely better than their offense. So they're not an absolute dumpster fire like maybe the Jets and the Bears are. There's kind of a big gap here between 31 and 30, but still the Jaguars are pretty terrible. They're in the 30s, the three worst teams in the league right here. And then in the 29th place we have the Giants. Of course, no surprises there. You've seen them over here. You know they're going to pop up somewhere. Just unfortunately, they weren't in 25th like Giants fans hoped. So they fall down one from 28th. And, I mean, really, it's because Daniel Jones, he's going to have to take time and develop, and he's going to have to hand the ball off like crazy to Saquon Barkley, who is a very good running back. He is a very, very good running back, but I don't know if he's going to be good enough to carry this whole team. Okay? He's good enough to pick up the 29th. He's kind of like Jamal Adams for the Jets, except for I think that they have a better team around him also. So they're pretty. I mean, they're with Saquon Barkley, if they just hand the ball off consistently, and Daniel Jones, maybe he gets better. Remember, this is the teams right now. This is not the teams in week 14. If Daniel Jones starts to develop and gets better as the season goes on, then they will probably start to move up through the rankings as the season goes on. Like in week 15, if Daniel Jones has gotten better and they're handing off to Saquon Barkley, this offense could become a pretty big force, and they could end up being pretty high. But as of right now, Daniel Jones, seeing how he played last year, I'm just going to put him at 29th for right now. And again, like also with the Bears, this is them with Mr. Trubisky, 31. Maybe with Nick Foles, they'll get better. That bumps them up. This is not how they will play once they get into the season. This is if right now, what is this? August 24th, 2020, this is where they are. No question. All right. Moving on to number 28, we have the Lions, who actually move up from 32nd. I had them at dead last, but I think they can move up here. Matthew Stafford, he isn't absolutely terrible. So I mean, he's definitely better than all these guys. And they do have they got Kenny Golladay. They do have weapons for him. So that offense is definitely much better than their defense. And I think that they could win some games. These four teams are absolutely atrocious, and they could win some games. If you're going up against the Lions, you got to think maybe they can pull something out. All right, I mean, that's really all I have to say. Their offense, their passing game is definitely going to be the better part of their team this year, in my opinion. I mean, they got Okudah, but that's really just a replacement of Darius Slay, and I don't know if they can really win lots of games. I'd rather 28th, of course. Anyways, let's just move on to 27th before I start rambling on. So, click. At 27th, we have the Falcons, who dropped down from 14th. Honestly, the Falcons, they're another team. Their passing game could be pretty good. You got Matt Ryan on there. You've got Julio Jones. I obviously think Julio Jones is better than Kenny Golladay. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league. Obviously, he's going to be better than Kenny Golladay. Hey, just a weird question. Do you guys think I should start going from 1 to 32? No. So the Falcons, but that defense is the mess. They do have a pretty good passing game, better than the Lions, and they have Todd Gurley. So that offense could be a formidable foe for a pretty bad defense right now. But yeah, 27th is where I have them, and 27th is where they stay. So, moving on to 26. This is the team just above the Falcons. We're edging out of it. We're kind of going from absolutely atrocious to they're just pretty bad. I wouldn't say the Falcons or the Lions are atrocious. The Lions stops there. These four teams are just the worst in the league. Okay? And then they're still very bad. If you're a Lions fan, people probably you're a Lions fan. Trust me, I know. I'm a Washington fan. But anyways, moving on to 26, we've got the Broncos. This is another very controversial one, as a lot of people seem to think that they are going to pull some miracle off and make it to the playoffs. I don't see it happening. Honestly, I don't. From what I saw from July last year, He played in 5 games in which they rushed, and all those show me that they try to. The games that they show me trying to say that Drew Lock is good, all this tells me is that Philip Lindsay is heavily underrated, because if you look, Drew Lock was only throwing for like just above 100 yards per game in those. He only threw for like 500 yards in 5 games, which isn't very good. And I mean, and you look at Philip Lindsay, they were handing the ball off to him. They were winning against pretty formidable defenses, and that just shows me that their running game is on point, and they do have a very competent defense. So the defense is competent. I just think if Drew Lock needs to develop throughout the season, get better, and then they will start to move up, and then maybe next year is when they will have their miracle, Drew Lock MVP season. Like, for some reason, a lot of people are saying, I just don't see it happening this year. I'm not saying that they're going to stay at 26. They're probably going to move up. Like the Lions, Giants, Broncos, they're all probably going to eventually move up through the rankings. That's why I update them weekly, is so that you can see how the things change. And I'm sure this whole list is going to be 50 times different than my Week 17 power rankings, which are probably going to have like the Jets at number 5. I don't know. Anything could happen throughout the season. I could be proven completely wrong on all of my predictions that I've ever made. Who knows? Moving on to number 25, we have the Bengals. They just barely fell down here. This is another team that will probably move up throughout the season. Look at Joe Burrow. They added him. I think, in my opinion, Tua Tagovailoa is better than him, which is why we haven't seen the Dolphins yet. But he was the second best rookie quarterback of 2020, in my opinion. And I think that he will really take this team, and I think they will get better. I don't know how they are right now with him not ever playing an NFL game as of this point, and without the preseason, he might not play too well at the beginning of the season, which is why I have them at 25th. This is a team that will definitely, in my opinion, all these teams, they could possibly move up. The Bengals are a team that I think will 100%, probably like in the Week 2 power rankings, be far higher than the 25th ranking. But right now, without playing, without seeing really anything of how he can play during the against actual NFL teams, I'm just going to leave him at 25th. They have a pretty good team around him. I mean, you got A.J. Green. They have T. Higgins. They do have weapons around him. It just depends, can he use that to his advantage? They don't have a very good defense, I don't think. I mean, they've got Joe Mixon, so that offense can be a force to be reckoned with, as we will see throughout the season. But right now, I'm just going to keep him at 25th. So not as bad as the rest of the teams. Now, let's move on to orange, and you've got Christian McCaffrey over here, because if you're a Panthers fan, I'm sorry, but you probably expected your team to be in the bottom 8. But no, I have them somewhere in here. They're either 24th, 17th, one of these. All right, number 24, we have the Dolphins. They just made it. So in my last rankings, I had them at 31st. But now that I've actually looked at everything and ranked everything, and look, Tua Tagovailoa is the best rookie quarterback coming out of 20. He was the best rookie quarterback. The only reason that the Bengals did not take him was simply because of all the injury concern. If he had not gotten injured, he would have gone first round. The Bengals would probably be in like 22nd right now. The Dolphins, they have, again, good weapons. They have good weapons. I mean, that's all I can really say. They do have a formidable team, and I think that they can win some games. I mean, they went 5-11 last year, and I think they could probably improve upon that record, maybe going 6-10, 7-9. So they go 24th right now, but I could actually see them staying the same, because I mean, they'll probably move up to like 21st, but they'll probably stay in this area until next year. All right. So moving on to 23, we have the Raiders. They only dropped down 1 from 22nd. They honestly, I mean, their tight end situation isn't very good. They've got Josh, what's his name? Their running back is great. I can't think of his name right now, but the guy who was a rookie last year, I'm completely blanking on his name. But he was an amazing running back. So Derek Carr, he's a pretty good quarterback. They have some weapons for him. I mean, this is kind of like, they're not terrible and they're not good. They're just a team. Darren Fells is not a very good tight end. I mean, I don't have much to say about the Raiders, but I'm trying to stretch it out. So I'm just going to move on to 22nd, which is Washington. Somehow I had them at 7th. How does that happen? I'm a Washington fan. I know that they do have Terry McLaurin and Steven Sims. But I've seen footage. I've seen stuff that says that Dwayne Haskins isn't looking Dwayne Haskins isn't looking absolutely spectacular during the training camp. He isn't looking very good right now. So I'm kind of hesitant to, this is another team that I think will get higher throughout the course of the season. But I just don't know if I think Dwayne Haskins still has to develop a bit, and then he'll be able to. Maybe next year that they'll be a pretty good team. They do have a pretty good defense. I mean, Chase Young, obviously that addition was good. Ryan Kerrigan. Their front seven is probably the best part about this team. They've lost Darius Guy, so it probably knocks them down like 3 spots. So 22nd is where I put them. It's not too bad, but they are still a pretty bad team. Moving on to 21, we have the Panthers, who move up from 24th. So, I mean, we're not seeing very many teams move up so far, but the Panthers are one of them. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, spot on. I think what happened, the reason they moved up, is because I kind of like Teddy Bridgewater more now, because the more I see like how he played last year, the more I think about the way he played last year with the Saints. I know he had a lot more weapons with the Saints than he does here with the Panthers, but he did play very well with the Saints. I think he won every single game that he started, which is pretty good. And he played he played probably higher than his expectations. And now he's moving over to the Panthers. You saw what he did last year, and I think honestly he could probably win a lot of games with the Panthers. I mean, look, he's got Christian McCaffrey he can hand it off to. I know they lost Greg Olsen, and they have a rookie-filled defense, and those rookies just have to get cemented in there, and they probably can move up. I'm saying about like every team that they can move up, but eventually you'll see. I'll probably start saying that some teams are going to move down. I'm just saying. We'll see what happens. Maybe Teddy Bridgewater doesn't work out at all. Maybe they just completely fail, and the Panthers end up going 2-14 or something. Who knows? I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see. In the 20th, we have the Cardinals. This is a team, again, that will had them at third. Third. One thing that no one ever talks about is their defense. Their defense is immaculate. They have a spectacular defense, not to mention that they've got DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald on that. I mean, you look, they have a rookie developing quarterback, and everyone's saying, all right, he's going to play pretty good this season. And then they give him DeAndre Hopkins, and now people know that he's going to play pretty good this season. I mean, this was just like a gift to him. I mean, come on. When you're a rookie quarterback and you're, all right, guys, so you got Larry Fitzgerald, you have a few. I mean, you don't have very good wide receivers right now, but everyone's expecting you to play. Oh, DeAndre Hopkins is on your team now. I mean, that must have been like amazing for him. I feel very happy for Kyler Murray, but right now, I'm just gonna put him at 20th. It's pretty uncertain whether they will play pretty good or whether they play bad. So I'm just gonna put them kind of near the middle, right above the Panthers is where I think they go. Moving on to 19th, we have the Eagles. I know. That must be pretty low. But they are moving up from 26th. Why did my last power rankings made no sense whatsoever. And the power rankings did before that, I don't even want to talk about that. That was disgusting. But the Eagles, I don't believe in Carson Wentz. Okay, I don't think he plays really well even when he's healthy. I think the only reason that they win games is because that they have a pretty bad division. I mean, you've already seen, Washington, the Giants, and then I'm pretty sure the Cowboys are like within the next 5 spots. They have a pretty bad team all around. Not pretty bad, they have a pretty bad division all around. And Carson Wentz, I don't believe in him that much, but I do think that he is a formidable quarterback. I do think that defense can put up points. I mean, they've got a good wide receiver core. That's the one thing that the NFC East, you look at Washington, the Eagles, and the Cowboys, one thing they all have in common is that they have a very, very good wide receiver cores. Those 3 teams have amazing wide receiver cores. Moving on to number 18, we have the Steelers. This is another controversial one because I'm not buying. I don't. I just have a feeling that for some reason I have a feeling that not Lamar, Big Ben is just not gonna play very well. I had him at 19th. I moved him up to 18th. And I honestly think that this is a team that might start to move down as the season goes on. I think that Big Ben might start playing a bit worse. And I mean, they got Juju. They do have weapons, which is the reason why they're 18th. But I just don't. I mean, with Big Ben, I think he will play. I think he will have one of the worst seasons of his career. I don't think that they will go 13-3 again. I think either they completely just prove me wrong in week 1 and they're in the top 10 instantly in the week 2 power rankings, or they prove me right and he ends up being in the bottom 8. We'll see. And the same thing, we have the Chargers moving all the way up from 25th. Again, what were my last power rankings? That is insane. I'm going to have to apologize for that. Make a full-on apology video. Guys, I'm so sorry. Chargers are 25th. I mean, come on. Now, this is with Tyrod Taylor. Again, this is with Tyrod Taylor. I still think that Tyrod Taylor, I mean, I think he's been wrong being a backup quarterback. He took the Bills to the playoffs whenever they were bad, and then he played pretty well for the freaking Browns, and then he's looked good in the preseason last year. I mean, he's still a very good quarterback. I think he's good enough to keep him up at 17th. He's probably at least going to win one of the games that he plays early this season. That is, if they don't make a weird decision and decide to put Herbert in at the beginning. So, I mean, I think they're good enough to go 17th. I mean, they do have Keenan Allen. They're giving him all kinds of weapons. This offense is going to be amazing. It's going to be one of the better ones in the league. Oh, and now we know the Vikings are somewhere in this 8. All right, so in number 16, we have the Browns, who just barely made it into the upper half of the league. Congratulations, Browns. You just made it. The Browns, they got rid of Kitchens, and now I feel like that talent is ready to flourish. The reason that they are at 16th and not higher up is because, for all we know, they really are, for all we know, that talent is just going to play kind of like they did last year. You see Baker Mayfield, if he plays the way he played 2 years back, and Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. play the way they have for their whole careers, basically, and not like they did last year, this passing game could become one of the best in the league, and they could move up into the down here somewhere. They have a pretty. I mean, you saw them getting hyped up a few years back. It wasn't for no good reason. It was just the fact they had terrible play calling and they underperformed. You got rid of the play calling part. Now, are they going to get better and start performing better? And if they do that, then they can get 50 times better. If they had kept Kitchens around, the Browns would probably be somewhere in the bottom of this list. They got rid of half the problem. Now, they do have a new head coach this season, which we haven't seen much from him, so we don't know if he is going to be able to, carry them. So maybe they're going to have great play calling this year. Who knows? Moving on to 15th, we have the Rams, who dropped down 2 from 13. The Rams, I mean, I know they moved down 2, but really nothing's really changed from a few years back. It's just that up here has moved around a lot. The rest of the league kind of moved around and pushed them down. I mean, I've been saying the same stuff on repeat for all these teams. You got Jared Goff, who's going to take a step up. We have Darrell Henderson, who in my opinion is probably going to I don't think he can play as well as Todd Gurley in his prime, but I think he can still play. He's going to be a very good running back this season, and I think this offense is ready to blow. And then obviously you got Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. They have a very good team. No one really talks about this, but their team is very good. All right, 14, we have the Texans. The Texans, of course, they lost DeAndre Hopkins. They moved up from 27th. What is this? What is going on? We're yet to see a team that hasn't moved, and that just kind of shows you exactly what's going on. I mean, eventually, when we get to the season, there's going to be a whole lot of teams sticking in the same spots. There'll be a whole lot of moving too, but we're not going to be seeing so many of these. So the Texans, of course, they lost DeAndre Hopkins, but they still got Willie Snead. Deshaun Watson is still an amazing quarterback. He's still throws. I mean, he still is one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, and he still has the ability to win games. They did get David Johnson, who can definitely be a very good running back. Now, I don't think he was worth losing DeAndre Hopkins over it, but I do still think that he is a very good running back, even if he is old. And that defense is still amazing. So they are still top 15 teams for me. I still think that they are way up here, and I think they do have a pretty good chance of making the playoffs. So technically, this is where the 14 teams make the playoffs. So all these guys down here, not playoff teams. Of course, that makes no sense, but still. For all we know, all these are AFC teams. So in 13th, we have the Patriots, who move up from 23rd. See, this is like another thing. I had to update this because the Patriots with Jarrett Stidham at 23rd was probably a little high back then. I think I was one of the people who was feeling like Jarrett Stidham could actually play really well, and I had them at 23rd. And now they have Cam Newton, and I'm moving to the 13th because that is some good stuff right there. And they don't have any weapons for him, which is a bit concerning. But he does have good. I mean, look, they got Julian Edelman and N'Keal Harry, so that's his main two weapons. So I guess they do have that, which is why they're at 13th. And still, you've got that Newton magic, and they do have one of the best defenses in the league, Stephon Gilmore, being the best secondary man. All right. They are going to definitely probably not play as well as the Patriots in their prime over the past couple of years, but they definitely I'm going to say this right now, they could play better than they played last year. They could win this division and go to the division round. They could end up this is going to hurt me to say, but there is, in my opinion, a small possibility that the Patriots end up in the Super Bowl again. And that is why they are at 13th. I mean, there's a small possibility that really any team above 15, like I could definitely see the Rams sneaking in. Any of these 15 teams could possibly, in the rarest of scenarios, make it into the Super Bowl. Moving on, number 12, we have the Cowboys. Oh, so I had them a bit higher than I thought they had. They're moving up from 16th. And that's because I have to understand that I am insanely biased. I despise the Cowboys, but I have to look and say, Dak Prescott, while I will say unbiasedly, completely, that I do not think he's a very good quarterback. He is still, he is one of the better quarterbacks in the league. He's not. I don't buy into the hype that he is going to be like the best quarterback in the entire league next year, but I do still think he will be one of the better ones. And then they have the best wide receiver core in the league, and then you have Ezekiel Elliott on there. I just think that this is going to be, I mean, the Cowboys, I think that they are ready, and I think they're ready to win this division this year. I think that the Cowboys will probably win the NFC East. And again, this is them right now. For all I know, Dak Prescott is going to play like Cowboys fans want him to, and he's going to take off and play insanely well. So right now, I'm just going to say they're at 12th, not in the top 10, but they're still pretty good. Again, I could see them in a very unlikely scenario somehow managing to barely make the Super Bowl. Just going to say that. Moving on to number 11, we have the Vikings, who moved down from number 5. I was really high on them a few months back. And look, obviously, Dalvin Cook, man, the myth, the legend, is a very good running back. He tore up some fields last year, mainly Washington. He had an amazing game against Washington. And then you look at Kirk Cousins, who surprised everyone, including me, by winning against the Saints in a playoff game last year. Could this be where they end up? Could they end up being the team that makes they were kind of like a Titans-like team last year. Because while the Saints always get screwed up in the playoffs, they did still beat the Saints, even if it wasn't the playoffs. So, also another thing, people try to tell me that the Saints aren't going to make the Super Bowl simply because they always get screwed in the playoffs. Like, they're good enough to make the Super Bowl. You can't say that they're not just because they had a couple bad games. I don't know. Moving on to number 10. We have the Colts moving up from 20. The Colts, they have Phillip Rivers. They're giving him more weapons than he's had in forever. And honestly, I feel like they could be in the top 10 teams. They could somehow sneak into the playoff, into the Super Bowl somehow. I think that they could win the AFC South. I think that the Colts are insanely underrated. One of the most underrated teams in the league. They lost Eric Ebron to the Steelers, but they still have one of the best offenses in the league right now. I don't buy into their defense much, but I still think that Philip Rivers is a very good quarterback. You saw him play pretty well with the Chargers, and now they give him a better team around him, and I think that this could potentially be amazing. Sorry, this video is so long. Number 9. Oh, look at that! The Titans haven't moved. We did it. I'm not crazy. I didn't move them. They're in the top 10. They're just above the Colts. Best team in the AFC South, in my opinion. Definitely could win it. It's going to be a tight fight between these 3 teams, really, of who is going to win this division. I don't think there's any chance that the Jaguars, who are way back in like the 30s, are going to win the AFC South. But any of these 3 teams could definitely win it. I mean, you've got Derrick Henry on there, the best running back in the league. Controversial opinion, but I do believe it. And then you've got A.J. Brown, who was an amazing rookie wide receiver last year. The Titans are going to be a force to be reckoned with. I mean, I'm not even talking about the fact they beat the Patriots and the Ravens last year, but we can't sit there and say that just because they beat them one time means they'll ever beat them again. But, yeah. So now we're moving on to the really good teams, the top 8 teams in the league. And, of course, you already know by the time we get it up here that the Seahawks are going to be in the top 8. And 8th, we have the 49ers, who move up from 10th. I still believe them. I mean, we see a lot of teams of Super Bowl hangovers, and obviously this is one because if last year they were probably a top 3 team. They moved down to number 8th. They could make another Super Bowl appearance. I could see there being a rematch of the Super Bowl from last year. Of course, the Chiefs could be 7th. But the 49ers, they do have a very good team. I mean, Raheem Mostert is a very good running back. What's it called? Jimmy Garoppolo completely proved me wrong last year. One of my more bold predictions from last year was that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to play absolutely atrociously, and then he comes out and is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Sorry, 49ers fan, I was wrong. And now I completely think they're going to be really good when everyone thinks they're going to be bad. How come my predictions are always different from everyone else's? It's insane. And now in number 7, we have the Buccaneers. I mean, you add Tom Brady, who I mean, you saw him. It's kind of like a Philip Rivers situation, except for the Buccaneers have like Mike Evans. You have is it Chris Jones? No. I completely forgot that guy's name. They've given him all types of weapons, and you got Ronald Jones in that running back room, that immaculate defense. They are one of the best teams in the league, moving up from 12th. And now we go on. You just almost missed the top 5 Packers. Best team in the NFC North, I think. Yeah, the Packers. Again, they're not giving him very many weapons, but Aaron Rodgers is still one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I think it's going to show this season. And I think, you saw them last year. They made it all the way to the NFC Conference game. I think they could do it again. Let's see. And number 5, we have the Seahawks. I'm completely buying in on them. I think that Russell Wilson is, I don't know if he's one of the best quarterbacks, but he is very high up on that list of quarterbacks. I think that they make the top 5. I mean, what's his name? I can't think of this guy's name. I'll keep on thinking. I mean, obviously you got Chris Carson over there, one of the best running backs in my opinion. They had some good rookies on their team last year. Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner is one of the best. I think he might be the best linebacker in the league. So I think all that propels him up to number 5. And 4th, we have the Bills, who dropped down from 1st. Again, what was my list last year? Again, there's a big gap in between number 4 and number 3, okay? The Bills, I think a lot of people, no one's really talking about it, but I think everyone, if you look at a lot of lists, the Bills are really high up on a lot of people's power rankings. This isn't just me. But, so a lot of people are saying the Bills could end up making the Super Bowl. The Bills are probably going to win this division. The Bills have an insane defense. They have an amazing offense. Not to mention they added Stephon Diggs this offseason, which propels them up even more. They are going to be one of the best teams in the league. I don't know. Again, it's kind of like how the bottom three were like absolute garbage. The top three are like amazing. They're in their whole nother league up here, okay? And number 3, we have the Chiefs. I'm pretty sure I spelled that wrong, but who cares? They move up from 4th. The Chiefs, you got Patrick Mahomes on there who can drop bombs on everybody. You have this insane defense. You have all kinds of talent on there. I mean, you saw them win the Super Bowl last year, and I think that they can do it again. I think that they can make the Super Bowl again. Definitely. I've seen people saying they're going to have a Super Bowl hangover. No, you saw them last year. They played really well. To me, that tells me that this season they're going to play really well. As of right now, that is. Moving on to number 2, we have the Saints, who haven't moved. Congratulations, Saints. So the Saints, you got Drew Brees, you have Alvin Kamara, you have the best wide receiver in the league with Michael Thomas on this team. They are going to be one of the best teams, one of the best defenses with Marcus Davenport on that front 7. Watch out if you're playing the Saints, unless you are the Ravens, who move up from 18th. I say again, from the 957th time, what was... No, say it with me. What was my rankings last time? What was this crap? I had the Ravens at 18th. Now, you may be saying, come on, Carson, you just made a video yesterday about how they dropped Earl Thomas. Wouldn't that move them down? No, the offense is absolutely amazing. Earl Thomas was definitely one of the things that made them great. I mean, they were probably at 0th place. I think they are by far the best team in the league. Lamar Jackson is the best player in the whole league. I'm sorry, but he is. And then they just awe me. I mean, if you are a Ravens fan, I 100% believe that the Ravens will probably make the Super Bowl this year. I think that they probably have out of all of the teams in the league, they probably have the highest odds. I haven't looked. The highest odds of making the Super Bowl. They are an insane team. By the way, let me just say something. Never mind. I'll see you guys in the next one, hopefully. Thank you guys so much for watching me ramble on. This was kind of me rambling on about stuff. My mind is other places. I'm doing this. I had a free period during one of my online classes, so I'm just doing this real quick. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can make your own power rankings, and you can send them to me. Just comment them down below, or if you want the rest of the world to see, you can tweet them. You can send them to me on Instagram. I don't know. You can share your Google presentation. Don't do that. I don't know. Let me know what you think of mine. I do have all my links in the description for my Twitter, Instagram, and my Patreon. I'm trying to start a podcast. It's a very far off dream, but I figure if this channel does at some point get big, maybe I can make a Carsonian Beans podcast. Maybe I can just sit down and just talk about stuff. Maybe for like an hour every week or something. I can just sit down and just ramble on about football. Again, thank you for watching. My computer's low on battery. Dang long video. See you. Comment apricot if you watched the whole thing for a shout out.